Hey y'all, Megami here, and today I wanted to do something different. With Nintendo Switch 2 finally announced as of January 2025, I want to talk about what games could potentially launch in the launch year of the Switch 2, as well as some that could be announced but not launching in the launch year. First off, I want to point out that after Xenoblade X Definitive Edition's announcement and the upcoming April Switch 2 Direct, I think the system will launch from the months of June 2025 at the earliest to October 2025 at the latest. We don't know what's in April or May minus that Direct, but I suspect it will release within the summer, or I should say winter here because Australia. In terms of games, I will be talking about first-party titles, possible launch titles, mostly Nintendo ones, and then third-party titles, not all in that order. Before we get started, I want to talk about backwards compatibility, because yes, we did get confirmation of backwards compatibility, which is awesome, and they even went out to confirm that again with the trailer saying that some titles may not be compatible, which I'm assuming are the games that use the little IR camera on the right Joy-Con, like 1-2 Switch, as well as games that require an extra accessory, such as Ring Fit Adventure. And with backwards compatibility, I think if they chose not to do it, it would have been a huge mistake for them not to. But I also want to touch on something. We know that the Switch 2 will have backwards compatibility for Switch games, but what I want is an option for previous gen games to get a next gen upgrade, similar to what Sony and Microsoft have been doing with the PS5 and the Xbox Series systems. Because really, with the power of the Switch 2 supposedly being similar to the PS4's power, I think it'd be great seeing some games that didn't run great on Switch 1 be able to run these games really well on Switch 2. Like, can you imagine games like Zelda Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, Bayonetta 3, and many more titles running on the next system at 60 FPS and possibly 4K? It'd be a really good idea that not only allows newcomers to buy the next system, but to buy the older games that can run better on the new system as well. Anyway, that's enough of that opening. Let's get started on the launch year talk. The first thing I want to talk about are the Switch 2 launch titles that could potentially launch with the system. And keep it in mind, I'm not referring to the third-party launch titles. This will be exclusively Nintendo launch titles. And with this topic, I only have about 2 possible launch titles, which at this point, none of which have been truly confirmed for launch. However, we have seen footage of a very little footage of both these games. First of all, let's start with a game that has yet to receive a release date, as well as a highly anticipated Nintendo game, one of the most highly anticipated out there being Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. It's been so long since it was originally announced that we're at the beginning of the successor's rise right now. They've had a long time to cook, even with restarting development on it, but let's not get into that. Among many discussions for Switch 2, many people think that Prime 4 will end up as a cross-gen launch title, and I have to agree. Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is a game that deserves a spot of cross-gen launch title for Switch 2. I think when it comes to Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, they aren't showing a lot because they want to save it for the Switch 2 Direct in April, and part of that is due to it being a cross-gen launch title. Metroid Prime is my first game in the series, and it's what got me into Metroid in general. And it was actually due to Prime 4's initial announcement that I got into it, so I'd love to see them do the same thing they did with Breath of the Wild and launch Metroid Prime 4 Beyond as a Switch 2 launch title, but also have it on Switch 1 for those that still own the OG Switch and can still play through it themselves. It can be a sort of new beginning of a new saga of the Metroid Prime story that can get people interested in playing the series and possibly have them wanting to go back and play Metroid Prime Remastered, Metroid Dread, and a lot of the other Metroid games. But first, Nintendo needs to put the other Prime games on there too. However, part of me thinks that it won't even be a launch title, and if they aren't gonna have it for Switch 2 at launch, then it'll just be a title for later down the line. We'll see, but it only makes sense as Prime 4 Beyond will also release on the OG Switch. Now, let's get into something that has not had a brand new entry in over a decade. That isn't Metroid Prime at all. Ever since the Wii U, we've gotten a mobile game, a Switch port, and DLC via that same port, and that is the next Mario Kart. We saw footage of a new Mario Kart for Switch 2, and I think that game will be the big exclusive launch title for the Switch 2. I do not think the title will be a number. I think it will instead have a subtitle similar to Mario Kart Tour, and that it will be based on the gimmick of the game, the main gimmick. But what that could be, who knows. However, with the footage that we saw, we know the character designs look very Mario Bros. Wonder-esque, as well as there being 24 racers. Plus, Donkey Kong looks so much like his classic Smash movie design overall. I think Mario Kart will be a massive launch title, and that'll be the game that gets everyone to buy a Switch 2 at launch, because Mario Kart is a massive franchise that is, I think 8 Deluxe is like one of the most sold Switch games out there. In fact, I think there might be a chance that we get both Metroid Prime 4 Beyond and the new Mario Kart as a launch title, and if we are, then I'm there for both day one. Also, in terms of launch titles, every Nintendo system there has been some sort of new first-party launch title by Nintendo that takes advantage of the new features of the systems. For the Wii, they had Wii Sports. For Wii U, they had Nintendo Land. And for Switch, they had 1-2 Switch. Now for Switch 2, I think they'll do something very similar. They'll have a new little small game to, for families to play with, to take advantage of the Switch 2, similar to what those last 3 games did. And I think and obviously it will launch with the Switch 2. That I have no doubt. I don't know what it is, I don't know what it could be, but it'd be interesting to see. What I'm gonna do quickly is talk about the first and third party titles and talk about what I'd like to see within the launch year, and others that could potentially be getting announced but not launching within the launch year. So with first party titles, let's begin the discussion. First off, I want to talk about 3D Mario. I had a feeling that the upcoming 3D Mario would end up being a launch title, considering there hasn't really been a 3D Mario as a launch title since Super Mario 64 for the Nintendo 64. However, after some thinking, I think the upcoming new 3D Mario for Switch 2 will not be a launch title, but instead be the holiday game for 2025. If you know me, you know I love 3D Mario. I love Galaxy, Odyssey, 64 and Sunshine I do like, but not as much. So, I'd be down for a brand new 3D Mario, which I think we're gonna be getting an announcement for during the Switch 2 Direct. I think we'll get confirmation with a trailer that Switch 2 will get a 3D Mario game this year. Plus, this year is the 40th anniversary of Mario, so of course we're getting something big for the anniversary. Would love to see it, and I'd be there day one. Next up, we got Astral Chain 2. I think if we are not getting it within the launch year, then we're at least getting confirmation that it's coming. I finished it almost a year ago and thought it was really good despite some minor issues. The story also ended abruptly with so many questions still being asked that need answers, so a sequel is definitely something I can see them doing eventually. I have faith that Platinum Games can deliver on the successor to Nintendo Switch, especially with how much it was pushing the OG Switch to its limits, but I'm also concerned if they'll be able to do it at all, because, things have changed for Platinum. The only recent game they have in the works is Ninja Gaiden 4, unless they're working on Astral Chain. But at the same time, a lot of the team from Platinum Games that worked on these games left Platinum Games recently, so it's hard to say whether it'll actually be as good as I'd hope for it to be. Donkey Kong is a Nintendo franchise I'd love to see return on Switch 2. I feel when it comes to the Switch era, besides the Mario movie and the Mario plus Rabbids crossover, DK fans didn't really get much aside from some ports and some remakes, and I think it's high time they brought back Donkey Kong, whether it be for a brand new 3D game or a new 2D Donkey Kong Country game, hopefully with King K. Rool himself as the big bad. I also think we'll get an announcement trailer for Monolith Soft's next project after Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, and I think this will not be a Xenoblade project, but a brand new IP from Monolith Soft, a new RPG. I have no idea what to expect from a new Monolith Soft IP, but I'd love to see what they end up doing with it. Again, this will not be a launch year game. I'd be hella surprised if it was, but considering Xenoblade X Definitive Edition launches in March, I don't see this project coming at any point in 2025, but I'd love to see what it looks like at least. I also want to touch on Sakurai's tweet he made regarding the Switch 2. I know he's been working on a new project for a couple years now, ever since like before he finished his YouTube project. Y'all went crazy after seeing that tweet, thinking he's gonna show something. I'd love to see him announce that project. I just don't think it's that time yet. Though if he were to announce the project, I don't think it'd be coming until 2026 at the earliest, maybe 2027. When it comes to the third-party titles on the Switch 2, I think Square will have especially a massive presence there. First off, I think Final Fantasy VII Remake would be a great game to launch within the launch year of Switch 2, if not the launch day of Switch 2. Whether it's just the PS4 version or Intergrade, which I don't know why it wouldn't be Intergrade. I don't know, I doubt it wouldn't be Intergrade, but also we don't know if it would be Intergrade, but I doubt it wouldn't be. It'd be crazy to see a game like Final Fantasy VII Remake 1 on the Switch 2. It'd be a great way to show off the power and next-gen Switch 2 features it will be able to use, plus Final Fantasy VII Remake on the go, unless you count a Steam Deck or own one, at least. I don't know if that means they're planning on doing Rebirth or even Part 3 on Switch as well. So really, we'd have to wait and see for those ones, but I wouldn't be surprised if they're working on that with Square's multi-platform plans. The Switch had its Skyrim port, which immediately surprised a lot of people with the Switch reveal, and I think they need another game like that. Which game? Well, for me, there's only one game that really comes to mind when it comes to massive port coming to Nintendo Switch 2, and that would be Elden Ring. It'd be crazy to see Elden Ring on Switch 2, and I think it will happen. I recently played through it like months and months ago, and it is a massive and fun and very hard game at times, but I really had a fun time with it. Elden Ring on Switch 2 would show off the power of the system. It can show people that Switch 2 can run a game as massive as Elden Ring, and that helped get more third parties involved with the system. Not that a majority of third parties already are or aren't. I also think that they should automatically have it come with the Shadow of the Erdtree DLC in a bundle that includes both the base game and the DLC. I think it'd be a great idea. Atlus have also been doing well in terms of porting their games to Switch. However, there were two that I recently noticed that aren't yet on the system, and that is Persona 3 Reload and Metaphor ReFantazio. And I think the reason why is because they're saving both those games for the Switch 2. Like Elden Ring, they should have Persona 3 Reload in the bundle that contains both the base game and the Answer DLC. Persona 3 Reload is an amazing remake of Persona 3. The gameplay is fun, the styles and visuals are clean, music is bopping, yeah, it's great. Metaphor ReFantazio is also a recent RPG that I played a couple months back when it launched, and it is clean as hell. It is such a fun game. It is Game of the Year material, and I think it would be perfect as a Switch 2 title. Both games, I'd say, are perfect as Switch 2 titles, but yes, those games, would love to see them on Switch 2, Atlus. Also, in terms of Sega stuff, I think they'll announce a lot of the Yakuza / Like a Dragon series ports to the Switch 2. We recently got Yakuza Kiwami on Switch months ago, and I think it goes to show that they might potentially port the other games if Kiwami sold it well enough on Switch. If enough are interested, or they're probably already working on those ports already. I don't know if they'll do the recent games right away, but I think they'll at least go from 0 all the way to Yakuza Like a Dragon. Maybe Judgment as well if they want. This game I played last year, and no joke, this is one of my favorite next-gen games out there, and with Krafton acquiring the team, and then recently being reborn under Tango Gameworks Inc., Hi-Fi Rush is a game I think needs to be on Switch 2. It's got so much charm, so much style, so much rock. It's an amazing game that deserves support and recognition. This is a game that can show how powerful Switch 2 is and that it can run games like this. And when it comes to Microsoft, I think there are at least 2 games I think will be coming to Switch 2, and those games are Halo, the Master Chief Collection, and Sea of Thieves. I think with Microsoft putting a lot of their games on multiple systems recently, those 2 are must-haves for Switch 2, and that's assuming the Halo ports are legit. Microsoft have been buddy-buddy with Nintendo for a long while, even going as far as letting them use both Banjo-Kazooie and Steve in Smash Ultimate. Plus, Sea of Thieves is developed by Rare, who have been buddy-buddy with Nintendo since before the Nintendo 64 games, with them doing the classic Donkey Kong Country trilogy, Donkey Kong 64, as well as Banjo-Kazooie themselves. There was also Ubisoft, who are always there for Nintendo systems day one, so I think they'll port one of their games, especially more so as a launch title. Will it be an Assassin's Creed like Mirage or Shadows? Will it be that Star Wars Outlaws? Who knows? Oh, and let's not forget what is arguably one of the most visually stunning games I ever played on PS4 way back years ago, and that is Red Dead Redemption 2. They put the first Red Dead Redemption game on Switch back in 2023, and from what I've seen, they seem to do really well with it. So I think what better Rockstar game than Red Dead Redemption 2, because they're definitely not going to be doing Grand Theft Auto 6 when that comes out. This game is so beautiful, it'd be insane to be able to play through this beauty of a game portably on Nintendo Switch 2, like bro. There's one more game series I want to talk about before ending this off, and that's a series that I've been wanting to see on Switch all this time, only for it to become a Cloud series instead. No, not you, Cloud. That's right, I'm talking about Kingdom Hearts. I think at this point they have to natively port Kingdom Hearts to Switch 2. 1.5, 2.5, 2.8, and finally Kingdom Hearts 3. It felt like such a move for them to put Sora in Smash and then say it's coming to Switch, only to mention the Cloud versions not even a minute later. I think they can rectify that with these native versions of the games on Switch 2, and while they're at it, they might as well have those other Cloud games get native ports as well. Games like the recent Resident Evil games, Hitman, Control, Guardians of the Galaxy by Square Enix, and more. If the Switch 2 can run these games, then they should be able to have native ports of them, but we'll see if they'll be able to do it, although Kingdom Hearts is a must though. Please Square, you already had it on PlayStation since the beginning, you had it on Xbox, you had it on Epic Games Store for some reason first, Switch via the Cloud, and which no one likes, and Steam. Just put it on Switch 2. I will pick them up day one if you do it. I swear to Sephiroth. Before we end off, I want to quickly talk about 2 things, those being achievements and Nintendo Switch Online. First off, achievements. Now, I think they can do achievements even this far after PlayStation and Xbox have started it, but I think they can do it differently. The idea is called My Nintendo Achievements. What they can do is offer My Nintendo points for getting achievements. You have 2 points for 2 types of achievements: Silver and Gold, with Silver being common and Gold being rare. They can work like PlayStation and Xbox, except getting these achievements gave you Nintendo points that you can use to trade in for stuff. Silver points for My Nintendo Store and the profile pic thingy they've been doing, and Gold points for the eShop. They did that kind of thing before with their mobile games, besides the Gold points I think, but I think they can expand upon that further with Switch 2 if they choose to. They did also confirm that alongside the backwards compatibility, that Nintendo Switch Online will be available for Switch 2, meaning they will continue adding on to it and will not be restarting that. I think the big one they gotta add for launch is GameCube. I know we already got ports, remakes, and remasters of GameCube titles on Switch, but I think they can do it without making the newer versions seem pointless. Unless you don't own 3D All-Stars, in which case you could play Sunshine, really. I also think what they should do is allow you to buy these Nintendo Switch Online titles, so you can play them and own them in your Switch 2 library without having to use the internet. I think it'd be a great addition, and it'd help out if you ever run out of Nintendo Switch Online subscription and aren't able to play a game you want to play without it. Anyway, that's all for me. Let me know your thoughts and what you thought of this video, and what games you think could be announced for Switch 2, and what games could be coming in the near future. Hope you all enjoy. See ya! So I was just editing the video when I saw something on Twitter that I'm very surprised that Nintendo has done. They're discontinuing the My Nintendo Gold points on March 24th, 2025. What the fuck?